Today we're going to hear a story about Ruth and Naomi and some other folks. And what happened was, Naomi was a lady who lived in Jerusalem, or near Jerusalem, and there was a famine, and she and her husband moved over to Moab because that's a nice place to visit. And they were there for a while, but then the guy died, so that was kind of a bummer. But they had 2 sons, and the sons got married. Over there, they married some gals from Moab, because the Moab gals are cute too. And they got married there, and they were doing fine until they died too. I guess everybody's doing fine until they die. But anyway, that's what happened to these 2 guys. So, and so Ruth thought, well, Naomi thought, this is kind of a bummer. My husband died, my 2 sons died, so I'm going to head back to Jerusalem. I hear there's not having a famine there anymore. So they went back, and she started walking and putzing right along, and then Ruth wanted to stay with her. And she said, hey, Ruth, you're my daughter-in-law, you're from Moab, you don't have to go back with me. We don't have any more sons for you to marry. I mean, it's all over. And Ruth said, I'm going to stay with you no matter what. And that phrase has been very important, but it wasn't, she said it different than that. But she said it in Hebrew anyway, or Moab talk, whatever that was. So I don't know how she said it. Anyway, so she went back with Naomi. Naomi still had a house there, because you kept your houses for a long time. And so she was there, and Ruth was looking for some food. So she went and started what a young widow could do in Israel at that time is she could go work with in the field where they were harvesting, and they were harvesting at the time. I think it was barley harvest, but I don't know. Could have been wheat, could have been who knows what. But they were harvesting something, and she was walking along behind. All these guys were harvesting the stuff. They were picking up bunches of grain and stuff and hauling it back to the farm, and they'd haul it to a certain place and stack it up during the day. And they had to go cut all these things, and they had some knifey things that they cut the grain with, and they got pretty good at doing that. And they brought it back and they put it there, but sometimes some of the grain fell off. So Ruth and some of the other girls who were widows and orphans and things like that could go through there, and they could scoop up what they could find on the ground. Now, the guy who owned that field was a guy named Boaz. That's a funny name, but it wasn't funny to his mom. It worked. And so he noticed that she was picking that stuff up, and he noticed that she was a nice young lady. And he told the servants, hey, make sure she gets some extra chunks of grain there. Something that she doesn't have to work too hard for, because I like her, she's nice, and I just want to bless her. And so they left a whole bunch of grain for her. She went home and told Naomi, look at this big bundle of grain I have. She put it in her apron or something, I don't know. And Naomi said, wow, where did you get all that? And she said, Boaz is the guy's name. He's the guy who owns the field. And so Naomi said, well, don't go anywhere else. Stay there, because he's a close relative of mine. And so it might work out to our advantage, because it's nice to have a nice guy who's a relative. So Ruth went back there day after day, and she was working and stuff. And finally, Boaz got to liking her, and they ended up getting married. It's a little more complicated than that, but this is a kid's story, so what am I going to do? It's, that's a good story in the Bible. What it means to us, though, is that God is looking for us. He's glad when he sees us looking for the things that are important to him. And when we start doing that, he starts leaving us rewards, and he wants to reward us, and so he does that. And it's like Boaz was kind of like the Holy Spirit, leaving stuff for people. And it's just like the Holy Spirit makes things special for us if we want to follow God. And that's cool. That's a neat story. Hello, here we are again, the 2 scientists in their white coats. And we're going to look at something very simple today. Sometimes what we see, or what we think we see, we believe, but we don't realize that we could be seeing something that's not quite correct. And an example of this, Blessy, would you take that straw and put it in the water like this? Okay. Now, what happens is when the straw enters the water at an angle, the light is refracted. So instead of being straight, it's going to be bent. And so what we think we see a straight straw. But what shows up visibly is a bent straw. And so it's just an example to us of how sometimes we have to remember that what we see is just what we think we see, and what is actually happening might be something else entirely. Thank you.